We're going to go a little bit deep today. We're going to dive into a question, a perspective, and we're going to see if we can change the lens of how you look at different areas of your life. Now, the question I titled this episode with is, are you a man of courage? People almost always talk about courage as this absence of fear, that you just courageously do things, that Navy SEALs, people in the military, man, that's so courageous. They must be fearless. No, courage is not the absence of fear. It is taking action despite the fear that we're feeling. Now, that's the first time you've heard that. That might already be an episode's worth of information. But I want to go a little bit deeper because depending on where you're at in your life, depending on maybe how long you've been listening to this podcast, maybe you've only listened to 5 episodes back and you haven't got all the different things that I've been saying about being a dad, that you might actually be really hungry and fearless and courageous, let's say in your work category. You do presentations, you get up on stages to talk to people, you sell like nobody's business. You can close $1 million deal like it was yesterday and you did it with your eyes closed. But there is a blindness that comes with that kind of courage, because when you already are taking action and being courageous in certain categories, when you are already doing things that seem something that, like, you know what, nobody else does this. I am doing enough today. Damn it, I have already changed my life today. I'm out. I'm done. I've done enough work. What that mindset can do, and I'm talking to you, but I'm also talking to me, because this really kind of showed up when a friend of mine was talking about courage, and I was like, man, that really hit me hard. And what happens is when you are a doer, when you are a get shit done kind of guy, when you do things that most people don't, that can almost create kind of like, man, I already am a man of courage. I already do scary things. I don't need to worry about any other areas. And you create a blindness to it. What I'm talking about here is looking at your life and maybe a category, whether it be money, family, marriage, a dad, career. Maybe it's the opposite for you in your career. But looking at those different categories of life and asking, where am I not showing more courage? Where am I not pursuing a deeper conversation that I need to be having? Where am I not looking at fear in those areas? Now, because we're focusing on one thing, and there's something to be said to focus on one thing, but after you've done that one thing and you keep doing that one thing, it's very easy to lose sight of the other ones. Not like lose sight of the priorities, but lose sight of the courage that it takes to move the needle in some new category. Because what I realized through this whole introspection of this thought was that looking at the empty space or the other areas of my life with a lens of courage almost immediately starts detecting, where am I not taking action? Where am I not being courageous? Remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is taking action despite the fear. As an entrepreneur, I can't tell you how easy it is just to get stuck on, yes, I'm doing these things, it's enough. But there are so many other areas, whether it be being courageous in my health, more courageous in my relationship with my kids, having more courage to have the talk with my oldest daughter about sex. Something we haven't really done. We've talked about boys and girls, but we have not gone below. That is an area that honestly I still kind of avoid. It's an absence of courage. And it's ultimately because there's fear behind it, like that naturally comes with the birds and the bees conversation. So looking at the life and the emptiness in the other areas where am I not showing courage? That is the real question I want to leave you with here today. Because being a man of courage in one area is really good, but it's multidimensional. Life is multidimensional. We know because this podcast exists because men crush it at work. But the dimension at home, having the courageous conversation with your wife, having a courageous conversation with your teenage son, with your teenage daughter, that's an entirely new thread of courage, an entirely new focus on running towards things that scare you. Now, a few episodes back, probably a couple weeks ago, I talked about fear and how that when something really scares you, that's an indicator that you need to run towards it. But what I didn't really realize is that when you're already running towards something that scares you, like in my case, professional speaking, it can easily kind of subdue the other areas of fear. But the lens of courage, that is the one that I really am now almost going to additionally look at all these areas with, because fear can be in different moments. Fear can be different relative heightened states of it. But courage almost instantly like, you know what? I'm not very courageous there. And it almost immediately calls out the absence of you taking action because there's a fear there. And so, again, my primary objective with today's episode is I really just want you to think, are you a man of courage? Because maybe you're not taking action in something that's courageous, or maybe you do, but that action is also hiding the other areas that you need to be courageous in. Because again, life is multidimensional. And this idea of looking at life through the lens of courage can be really illuminating, can be scary, because you really have to be honest. You have to self-reflect in a way that most men are not good at. You have to create the clarity that you need to answer it. And more importantly, you need to have the balls to go out there and lead through that courage. Take action despite that fear. Just a reminder, if you want to help get clarity on that, if you're struggling with this courage lens, head on over to bencloy.com. There's a free clarity call waiting for you right there to talk about whatever it is that you're looking to see. Because as I've mentioned here before, beer goggles are what we walk around with. And it's that prescription beer goggles that prevents us seeing it. And sometimes we can't really know what's reality and what's not. And I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.